Wyoming is a state in the western part of the U.S. in the Mountain West region. It's surrounded by Montana from the northern and western side, South Dakota and Nebraska to the east, Idaho to the west, Utah to the southwest, and Colorado to the south. Even though it's the 10th largest state in terms of land area, it has the smallest number of people living there, only 576,851 according to the 2020 census. This makes it the least crowded state, second only to Alaska. The biggest city and the capital is Cheyenne, with around 63,957 people. Are you considering a move to Wyoming? I mean, who hasn't imagined trying out life in the authentic American West? Wyoming is huge in terms of land, so you might find a place there you can call your own. But let's not just focus on the magnificent views like scenic Tetons and geysers in the Equality State. There are significant drawbacks to think over before relocating, as life in Wyoming can be quite challenging, even if you're ready for it. Is it really worth it to move to Wyoming? More on that in the video. We have to give it to Wyoming. The state surely offers some advantages. Wyoming has some good reasons for you to consider living there. As with any other state, there are several pros and cons you need to consider before moving here. On the bright side, housing is cheap. If you're thinking of moving, you'll find that homes in Wyoming cost a lot less, about $250,000 on average. So if you dream of owning a home, Wyoming can make that dream come true. Another great plus is that Wyoming doesn't have a state income tax. This is a big deal, especially for people who work remotely. In fact, Wyoming is one of only 9 states that doesn't charge income tax. There's no doubt that the lower cost of housing and no state income tax combined with beautiful nature and quiet, peaceful life can seem appealing. But with pros, there are always cons. People residing here have been starting to point out many disadvantages of living in the Equality State. Firstly, the climate might not be the most welcoming. Well, you have to brace yourself because Wyoming winters are no joke. Surviving them requires some serious preparation. The severity of winter can vary across the state. In the Tetons or out on the prairie, the average low temperatures in January can range from a bone-chilling 0 degrees to a frosty 18 degrees Fahrenheit. Snow can pile up anywhere from 60 to a whopping 200 inches. So, no matter where you decide to settle in Wyoming, unless you want to be glued to your fireplace all winter, you'll have to layer up with 3 or 4 cozy outfits just to stay warm. So, during that season, catching just 5 hours of sunlight is a luxury, provided that the sun even decides to make an appearance. Don't be too scared though. Yes, Wyoming winters can be challenging, but they're not exactly a nightmare. With careful planning and the right gear, you'll soon realize that these winters are merely a backdrop to some of the most stunning and untouched landscapes in the entire country. If you're enchanted by sweeping vistas of untamed wilderness that touch your soul, the cold becomes easier to bear. And if you're a fan of snow sports, then you'll find joy even in the frostiest days, as Wyoming has some of the finest snow sports opportunities in the nation. As the snow melts away, however, say hello to tornadoes, thunderstorms, and wildfires. While tornadoes are more common in the southeastern part of Wyoming, wildfires and thunderstorms can strike all over the state. Speaking of environmental hazards, we cannot omit the threat the volcano located in Yellowstone Park possesses. Its eruption would have global consequences, including ashfall and short-term climate changes. Areas nearest to Yellowstone in Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming would face pyroclastic flows, while volcanic dust would affect the rest of the United States, with diminishing intensity farther from the eruption site. These eruptions typically form calderas, vast volcanic depressions caused by the collapse of the ground surface due to molten rock withdrawal. Then comes fall, with its crisp days and magnificent tapestry of colorful leaves against deep blue skies. It's a perfect time for hiking, cycling, boating, and fishing to your heart's content. Life in this state can get pretty lonely. The relationship with Wyoming's isolation is a mix of love and frustration. Escaping the hustle and bustle of the city is a major reason people choose to relocate here. However, over time, this very location can start to wear on you. The cowboy state often holds a romantic allure as the last bastion of the Wild West, where cowboys and bison still roam. Yet this romantic notion can hit newcomers hard when they realize they're left alone among vast prairies or untamed wilderness once the moving truck departs. Living in Wyoming truly means embracing solitude. If this is your aspiration, I strongly recommend spending a minimum of a few weeks, if not a whole month, in the area you're considering. This will provide you with a much clearer understanding of what life truly means there. Before we move on, here's a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel and leave this video a big thumbs up. Now, there are also limited work opportunities as well as poor education systems. When seeking education in Wyoming, your choices are quite restricted. To be precise, the state offers just a handful of public educational institutions, with Wyoming Catholic College standing as the singular private higher education establishment. Equally, the range of work prospects is quite low. The majority of employment opportunities fall within specific sectors, primarily centered around farming. Moreover, only a limited number of job vacancies can be categorized as professional roles. In essence, job opportunities are scarce, and the few that exist are predominantly limited to specific industries. Also, how diverse is the equality state? The concept of diversity in the state of Wyoming doesn't exactly harmonize. Out of all 50 states, Wyoming ranks as the least populated, and among its 582,328 residents, roughly 92% identify as white. This demographic makeup entails a limited array of cultural practices, a more conservative populace, the highest gun ownership rate in the country, and a predominantly Caucasian population. Many local festivals and events revolve around Old West traditions like rodeos and frontier days, complete with staged gunfights. Nonetheless, regardless of one's background, the sense of community is robust, and people genuinely look out for each other. Wyoming proudly bears the name the Equality State, earned when women gained the right to vote in 1869. Remarkably, this occurred a full 50 years before the ratification of the 19th Amendment, which granted women's voting rights across the entire United States. In addition to suffrage, women were granted property ownership rights, the ability to sign legal documents, and eligibility for jury duty. This commitment was clear when Wyoming wanted to become a state in 1889. They made sure to keep the laws that gave women equal rights as a requirement for joining the United States. Every year, Wyoming celebrates this by organizing events and parties all over the state to honor important women from history and support women's equality. Lastly, small-town life can be tough. Moving to Wyoming from a big city might be a bit difficult depending on your lifestyle. Grocery stores here don't have a lot of choices or good quality. There aren't any in Wyoming, except for one Whole Foods in Jackson. And stores in general are limited because most cities in Wyoming aren't as big as the ones you might be used to. If you're moving to a Wyoming town, get ready for some typical small-town things, like everyone knowing each other, not much to do for fun, not a lot of people to hang out with, and having to drive longer distances. If the negatives aren't enough to scare you away from moving to Wyoming, I don't know what will. However, low taxes may be enough to convince you that Wyoming could work for you. But if you're also looking for a more laid-back, low-key lifestyle, perhaps Wyoming's wilderness and beauty are a good destination for you. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you somehow still are not a follower, and leave this video a big thumbs up. See you soon.